This out.
All right, welcome everybody to another episode of the Writer's Cut. This is episode 11. I'm your host, Edwin Acevedo, and I have a very, very special guest with us tonight. Why don't you introduce yourself to everybody while I tweet this out, let everybody know we're live.
I'm Kayla. You may know me from Death Curse, or you may know me from streaming with Joe and Sean on Tuesdays for Akba. And yeah, pretty much that's it. I mean, I don't have like a super big introduction, but yeah, I hope everyone is having a great evening, and I'm gonna tweet this out as well. So
Yeah.
that's where
And
I
for
am at.
so for anybody who's not familiar with our little platform, first let me just say hi to the chat. We got somebody in the house. We got
Oh,
the
it's a
time
time
scales
scales.
saying greetings from San Francisco. Greetings. Yeah,
Hey, time scales.
we're over on the other coast over here repping MASS, gotta. So cool thing about this community is seeing where everybody's from, It's like there's people all over the world that I've kind of interacted with that we never really get a chance to. So it's always awesome.
Yeah, that is like one of the best things I think about this community, and just having that different kind of outreach and being able to connect with everyone over a common interest, which is nice. So,
Yeah, and then, it's also great, one of the things that has been really awesome about being a writer, a creator, is seeing my books go to all these kind of far off lands that I never even
yeah,
knew people were interested. I've shipped stuff to Japan, to Ireland, to India, and just crazy places all over the world. So it's kind of amazing the reach this thing has.
that must be some of the coolest feelings.
It
Um,
is.
I know like the Death Cars books, we had a couple internationals, but I don't think we shipped anything all the way to Japan. So, and it's different because I was editing. So when it's my own book that comes out, I'm going to feel like a completely different way when it's something that I wrote.
Yeah.
Um, I know Joe has international backers with his campaign.
Oh,
So
I
that's
bet.
going to be cool knowing that people will read my supplemental story in those places.
Yeah, that's a fantastic thing, man. There's comic book fans everywhere. There's people peas and we're just trying to give the people what they want here.
I think everyone just wants to read something that they can get lost in or something that they can enjoy in general.
Definitely.
So,
Yeah.
all
So
right.
let's get into our a little topic here. I really wanted to. You always have kind of like a topic. So I wanted to get into kind of the idea of what stories we'd like to tell and kind of what some of our aims are as far as writing, as far as like storytelling, all that kind of stuff. I have a couple examples. We can kind of go back and forth. But as far as like something that's that I really want to do with the Ace. I've talked about Ace is my baby. It's
Mhm.
the first thing I ever did. I want to tell kind of epic story. Like I want to be able to do one of these a year and just tell like these great uh kind of sci-fi space kind of epics. And you can see on the screen right there what I'm sharing. It's very much inspired by Green Lantern Rebirth.
Mhm.
Like the idea of Jeff Johns did like a 10-year run on this book. And, he basically told every story you could possibly tell. His impact has really lasted even all these years that he's left the book. So, it's kind of like, in my own way, obviously, it doesn't have a lot of the stuff that Green Lantern has. But the main idea of it, the idea of taking this young man, David, and having him discover his powers little by little in the first couple issues, and then you start introducing like some of his villains, the people that he faces, so some partners, Desi from the God List. You have Akula, who's like his main nemesis. You have
Yeah.
Angelique, you know. So you have all these cool things, and then you start adding in volume three. That I'm gonna be launching probably end of September. Uh, you'll see like a new alien race being introduced, and you kind of see, different storytelling, and leading into volume four when Ace ends up meeting finally the Emperor that's mentioned in the second book. So you got all this kind of crazy kind of stuff, and I'm hoping I can center it around David and kind of his story and how he kind of grows as a man and as a character, and while also introducing all this other cool stuff around him. I think that's a lot of the great stuff Jeff did. He focused on how, but he also gave you great side characters and
Oh,
epic
absolutely.
adventures. Mhm. So yeah, it's this is one of those things that we got somebody else in the chat here. Follow him up real quick. Christopher Bouchard. There we go.
Hey, Chris.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you for supporting the book. I hope you enjoyed them. Love to get some feedback on them. It's
Yeah.
always fun to hear back from people. So Timescale says hello. So yeah, what about you, Kayla? What's kind of what's some of your thought process as far as like things that inspire you and things that maybe you like to tell your kind of own version of?
So I want to be able to tell so many different stories. I read so many different genres besides really romance novels. I'm not big on romance novels. That's like the only thing. I want to be able to write superhero stories. I want to be able to write your like a traditional superhero story. I want to be able to write your dark or reluctant or anti-hero story. I want to be able to write sci-fi space odysseys. I want to be able to write horror. I want to be able to write fantasy. A lot of different aspects of fantasy, from your um, basic fantasy genre to your dark, twisted horror fantasy genre. I don't want to limit myself when it comes to writing
Yeah.
um, at all. There's so many things that I've read that have inspired me. I don't even know where I would even begin because I've read mangas, I've read comics, I've read your traditional books. And when I say I've read books, it's more than just like your Tolkien or your C.S. Lewis or J.K. Rowling was a huge influence on me growing up. Hey, Jay, how are you doing?
Is that okay?
Um, so it's more than that. I would say, like, because so here on my shelf, I have the Egyptian Book of the Dead. This is translated completely. It's actually
Thanks.
super cool. And I've had this forever. So it's like stained and you see my nice juice marks on it. So I read a ton of different things. This would be labeled like conspiracy, but this is Zechariah Stitchin, and this is just his retellings of stuff about like this is a stairway to heaven, and this goes to the Earth Chronicles. So it's labeled like conspiracy, and then I have like notes and everything. This is the Kabbalah, so this is Hermetic philosophy.
Wow.
My taste in reading is so vast. um I want to be able to write anything that I feel compelled and inspired to write. And my process is really different, I want to say. Actually, let me send you a couple pictures of some of like my process. I'm going to send them to you on Twitter so you can pull them up because I don't have them on my computer. They're on my phone. And this is just like a couple things so people can see the craziness that goes on inside my brain. So, like, when I get an idea, I start scrapbooking. So, I'm someone I write and I write and I write. Like if I get an idea, if there's a napkin around me, I'm writing on the napkin, whatever I can write on my arm.
Yeah,
I'm literally a crazy person.
that's
So
how it is.
my
You know,
process
once
is
that
crazy.
inspiration hits, you gotta take advantage of it. Trust me, I've gotten more stuff in post-it notes, just like randomly. I'm at work, something comes to me, I gotta write it down. You know, just
Yeah.
have it in my wallet just in case.
Oh, sorry. She just jumped on my back and all right. I might have to let her out because she's going crazy. She just jumped like full claws on my back. I was like, what was that? I thought there was a demon in my room for a second here after I'm pulling out like the Hermetic philosophy books and
Yeah.
everything. So I want to share some of this because I think it's very different. So there's going to be pieces of it. They're not going to come in order um, because I'm screenshotting to get to them. So you can see all my crazy shit that I do. So so after I get my initial idea and start writing, I start like scrapbooking things. And if
Okay.
I'm working with an artist, and say an artist is basically like sending me artwork back, I like to make notes of where I picture panels being. And I'll have my script written and I'll have like most of my idea of what is being said, but all of that, like the narration or the spoken word switches as I see the artwork, if that makes any sense. So because I could basically, how can I put it? I basically could see one thing down. Like I could see one thing, and then when the art comes to me, I could change my mind and feel that something's going to flow a lot better. I'm not worried about any of this stuff here. Reason being is because I kind of cheap copyright all my ideas, but you can definitely like pull this up. And this is for some crazy fantasy stuff I was going to be working on. So you'll see there's like paint swatches and there's a ton of them. So yeah, this is my crazy process here. So it's just whatever inspires me. And then I have like written down what this character is. This is more like a guide for artists too, but it's me just getting visual notes and everything. And even my world building is kind of like that too. Like I don't know if it showed up, but there's like a section where there was pictures of magic cards and I was like gluing the cheap ones in. So yeah, it's a different process I think than most people would do. And then if you get to other pages, you'll see there are like paint swatches, like what I picture for colors and just it's very random, I know, but it works. It helps me get into the flow of everything. It's unique, I think.
Yeah, there
It
we
just
go.
works. So a
Post.
lot of that stuff is like stuff from Skyrim that inspired me while I was playing. So see, like I have all these paint swatches here at the bottom. These are ideas for certain lands. Like I wanted to combine things to make one realm and it's pretty out there. I know. But it works for me. So, and this is just one of the stories I want to tell.
It's always
Yeah.
cool seeing different people's process and stuff, you know. Like you know, there's no real one way to do this stuff. Like I always tell anybody who wants to learn, like, we all have our processes, we all have the way that we work best. Whatever you have to do to make that happen, it's okay, nobody's gonna judge you on it, you just gotta, the only thing you should really have is a passion for telling these stories.
Oh,
You should never
definitely.
do something
Oh,
just
wait.
because
I
it's
just saw that one.
popular, or anything. Do it because you love it, and I think it'll show. I think people
I think I
see
just
the
resent to
difference.
the same one. I have so many in here. I'm like, I don't even know which ones I'm sending, which ones I'm not sending from so many different types of stories. This story here is one that I was actually going to work on with my ex-boyfriend.
Ooh,
But we went through a um pretty bad breakup this year.
mm,
So, actually, the tattoo designs are his tattoos. And I was
oh,
like, okay, he does this really well. So, for him to get into comics, it would be really cool if I could have him do something really well that he does and incorporate it into my work.
mm,
So, I wanted to do this story here is about basically he is a knight and he wakes up essentially and he is turned into like a skeleton knight. And there are these hordes of these undead and they're different, like I called them skelecentennials and stuff. And he basically has to save people and he's assisted by this salamander. So it's a really strange story, but I don't want to spoil things with it.
yeah,
I am eventually going to do this. Possibly that's what I'm going to work on after Crimson and Alabaster. And I believe that I will be doing another story for Joe in the future as well.
that's
So
awesome.
I want to tell stories. I want to entertain. I want to write things that are fun that people can just enjoy that aren't too thought provoking, but then I want to write the stuff that is going to provoke everyone's mind.
Right.
So
Yeah. No, that's
it
awesome. And one thing we've seen, especially, over the last couple of years, there's a lane for every kind of story that you like to tell. I mean, we've seen countless books. It's not just capes and cows. We've seen all sorts of stories by all sorts of different writers and creators that have put stuff out that's been super interesting and different. And there's like there's a place for all that. It's like this is all about creativity, and I think that the thing people enjoy the most is you know being introduced to like cool concepts and different kind of ways of storytelling. And I think when people see something cool that they like, it doesn't really matter what the genre is or anything. It's just about kind of telling a really interesting, well told story that looks good. That's really the main thing.
Yes, I agree. Like I'm someone I love reading comic books. Like for me with comic books, Chris Claremont is like my god. He is someone that I think is just the best writer when it came to comic books. What he did with X-Men, he was able to give them flaws. He wrote strong characters as well. To me, he is the definitive writer of the X-Men and just what he has done with all of the storylines. Dark Phoenix is my favorite of all time in particular, but he has so many great stories like God Loves Me and Kills. Just, I could go on, Life, Death, the, Days of Future Past. I mean, he's done everything. So it's over his time working on X-Men, his years and years. And he had this ability to write, and it was so descriptive and so vivid, and he knew how to move the story along as well. So in certain parts of the comic, it was like reading an actual book. And then in other parts, it was more comic book story oriented, you could say, where it was more a lot. I can't describe it because there's only one him. There hasn't been a writer that has been able to capture what he's done. And definitely, I would say, I think that's what breaks my heart now when it comes to X-Men is that no one has seemed to learn from his writing. I don't expect anyone to be better than Chris Claremont, but I expect people to look and see at the things that have been written and at least want to try to improve their writing skills or be on the same level or be better from what they have learned, you know?
Yeah,
I'm just inspired by so much. Like,
Claremont was definitely one of the icons of the last 30, 40 years. Even very much like Jeff Johns, his blueprint on X-Men stayed for years after, basically up until Grant Morrison took over. Everything, even like guys like Scott Lobdell, Phoebe Nicieza, they all borrow from the blueprint Claremont started.
Yeah.
So he's definitely a big inspiration, and he's spun off. He's done all sorts of great stuff, a lot of different books. But X-Men is the one thing that will always stand out, and that the characters, the powers, the looks, all that kind of stuff. That's what people recognize as X-Men. Doesn't matter what they do now. Like when people think of X-Men, they think of what Claremont did,
He
and
defined it.
yeah,
Like, to be a
that's,
writer that defines something like that, I mean, you can't. I know Chris Claremont, Jano. Yes, I love Art Adams too, but we're talking about writing right now.
hey, I Matt. What up,
Hell,
brother?
you're not shadow banned here, though.
Uh, Everybody's welcome here.
So I just like, and then you have like Jeff Loeb, another writer that is amazing in the comic book realm, and even Neil Gaiman. And I know so many people knock on me like, "Oh, Neil Gaiman." Um, I personally, I don't really care. I'm not talking about who he is as a person. I'm talking about his writing and what I enjoy.
Yeah,
So I don't care about any of that other nonsense that's going on around or whatever the case. I'm not worried about him as a person. I'm talking about his writing. And you can't honestly deny that someone is a good writer based on whatever their personal choice is, you know? That's like me sitting there and saying someone's a shitty artist and the artwork is great just because I don't like them. That would be untrue. I can't lie like that. Maybe some
yeah.
can. I can't.
No,
So
and
I respect his writing.
somebody I feel the same way is about Kurt Busiek. You know,
Mm,
like I could not disagree with him more on
certain
basically anything. But
Stephen King.
he knew how to write the Avengers, and him and George Perez set a standard for Avengers that, in my opinion, wasn't really matched.
Oh yeah.
Everything fails in comparison to it. So, in the end, I could always come back and read those issues and love them and enjoy them. So
Yes.
you gotta, you know, you gotta be able to kind of just separate that. Uh, but yeah, another story I wanted to touch on is actually a book. I don't know how many people know about this character, but he's called Damage. He came out a couple of years ago when DC did the New Age of Heroes. They had the Silencer, Sideways,
Silencer,
yeah,
Sideways. Yeah.
Damage, and I was a really big fan of those books. You know, I really like. It reminded me of like the early '90s when Marvels was doing Darkhawk, they were doing Sleepwalker, they were doing Death's Head 2. They're trying something different and new, and that great Tony Daniels art. Robert Venditti told a good story. This kind of rampaging Hulk-like
He's like a
character, but
Hulk. Yeah.
yeah, he could only do it for an hour, and he runs out of like juice after an hour, and he's got a whole backstory, and it's really kind of mystery and all that kind of cool stuff. And even though it's different, it's not exactly the same. But like I said, some of the themes I think you'll notice when you read Bloodbone and what we kind of want to do, the idea of this kind of jacked good guy. He's got
Hmm.
like a really interesting backstory. He's got a lot of mystery and stuff that gets revealed as the issues go. So that's something that is kind of like something that I took almost like a blueprint of. Like I said, it's not the same, but if you're familiar with it, and I think you read enough issues of Bloodbone, you'll kind of see some little hints, kind of spread out. They're kind of like there's with Ace, there's a lot of like stuff or like Darkhawk, even though it's a different story. There's little kind of sprinkles that you'll notice if you're familiar with it. If not, it'll just kind of go over your head, and that's fine. But yeah, like I thought Damage was a really cool idea, a really cool, interesting hero, just like a lot of those guys. And the idea of creating new characters, new heroes, new stories, that's something that I believe has hurt the big two, not kind of going down that route. Instead they give us like 20 Harley Quinn books and 50 Batman books. And then there's a limit to how, let's have one Harley Quinn book. Let's have two Batman
Uh,
books. We don't have to just go overboard.
well,
And,
it's Harley Quinn is a fad. That's what
yeah,
it is. It's a fad. To me, at least, I never was drawn into Harley Quinn's character when it came to DC. Actually, my first love in comic book characters, like when I
yeah,
was able to it was Catwoman. I was so drawn to Catwoman, and I think it was because I saw Batman Returns as a kid. That movie came out like the year I was born, but afterwards, I see Aerith just got here. So much Pon Dolce, so little time.
yeah.
But I just Catwoman, like the Jim Valiant run, I just was so drawn to like the costuming and everything. And Catwoman was just awesome because I thought that she was always Batman's equal in an aspect.
Mhm.
And she's kind of like anti-hero-ish, she's not the hero, she's not the villain. She can be a villain, she can be a hero. She's kind of right in the middle. And I thought, like, as I got older, I wonder if I have it over here. I think I do. I don't know what books I have over here and what books I don't, because none of my shelves are in order.
Yeah, Batman Returns is fantastic. It's no wonder, Warner Brothers and DC got scared and didn't want let them do a third one, but it's still fantastic.
So hold on one second. I just was responding to a text.
Yeah, man. Thank you, Jay. So we do here. We show love. We support.
Where
So we're
is
trying to
it?
grow this circle.
Okay, here it is. So Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale, to
Right?
me, they are another like a comic book match in heaven. When in Rome. I thought this was a great series. Like I have this hardback and I have all the single issues. And this basically filled in the time period before, I mean, after the long Halloween or during the same time, and it had a lot of interesting things. It filled in more about her as a character, like unveiling some of her background and everything. And I just thought it was done so beautifully, and it just gave so much to her as a character. So I thought it was just very cool because it's like, you know, it, you kind of find out like Carmine Falcone is her father and everything. And it was just done very well. Jeff Loeb is an incredible writer, I think, in the comic book world as well. That is a great show.
It's fantastic. Vikings.
I loved that show.
Just if you haven't seen it, and you like, Vikings, you like all that kind of stuff, it really is fantastic. I think the casting is out of this world. And really, for Raider the White Leopard, the idea was to do something like Vikings as far as like the setup goes, and then kind of mixing it with something like Arrow, and just kind of bringing these two
Mhm.
kind of very different things that should not come together, and seeing how they both connect in one story. And it's really something that as I've started to write it more, it's kind of become one of my favorite things, because it's just like there really is. There's a lot of cool stuff. It's just really, it's fun. I can't wait for people to read it and give me feedback on it, because it's gonna be just a lot of fun.
I think so many people are so scared to write. Sorry, my light is like weighing down my laptop. I think so many people are so scared to write more than one genre. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um, because they're scared to fail at it. Like right now, both of the things that are like I'm working on, the supplemental book, it does have the dark fantasy feel to it, but I wrote the supplemental story based on Joe. Like I was working with Joe, and it was so important to me that I embodied the character of Vanessa through my writing, and that he thought everything was just cohesive with for continuity's sake, you know. So
Yeah.
I was telling a story, but I wasn't doing anything outside of the realm of what he wouldn't want, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I had the freedom to tell an amazing story, absolutely. So nothing like that, but it's like how can I put it? There's a pressure on you, I feel like, when you're being presented with the opportunity to write someone else's character because they're not your character.
Yeah.
So, um, and I was writing a story that was opposite of the story that he was writing for the supplemental in an aspect where basically he's doing this action packed story and my story is more um it's in the mental realm of action, you can say. So it's two different things. So that was like I felt like a little bit pressure doing that because I was like, "Oh, the audience that he has, I hope I win this audience over," you know, but I'm not worried about it now. Now that I see how everything is coming out and how everything is looking together, I feel super confident about it. Um, and I'm just hoping people understand what I was going for because I wrote it almost in poetic language, like a staccato, like you would read it like a staccato. So it's like there's beats to it when you read it, I guess. It's different. It's different, but thought provoking. And then I'm writing a sci fi body horror Western,
There you go.
and Padrino's doing the art with that. I wanted to go and do my big fantasy baby, and that isn't what I was showing you there. I have a ton of books filled with a ton of ideas.
Yeah.
I've been writing like my whole life, but I have a story I will eventually tell in the format of a comic book um, that I've been working on since high school. I can't stop writing it. I have 46 pages of one issue written is the problem. And it's repetitive because every time I go back to it and I read it, I end up rewriting a whole bunch of shit. So it's 46 pages of me constantly rewriting. The world is built. I have my characters, all of that stuff. But it's like I see it, I read it, and want to go back. So I'm jumping off topic here because I get excited about talking about writing and I'm just so passionate about it and I love it.
What it's
Um,
all about, you know. People like to see that passion. They like to see, you know,
I just
what you're about. You know. But yeah, I know all about the long-standing story that one day you hope to tell. So
I'm hoping I will
it's
get
the whole
there.
thing.
But Spencer was like, "No, you cannot do this. No, no, no. You do not put out your baby first." He's like, "You know what? You need to challenge yourself, and um, I want you to look through a bunch of shit ideas I had and see what you can make with one of these shit ideas." Pretty much, Spencer. All right. So, look it through, and then I took the idea that I thought was the most controversial, and they're not even shit ideas. They're just like he has an idea and he doesn't feel he can write for it, pretty much, but he has an idea.
Yeah.
So I just basically it was like albino ex slave,
What up, Avery?
redheaded ex prostitute,
Oh, there you go.
um, monsters, Western, horror, bounty hunters. And I was like, yeah, I want to write this one. So it's
That's
been
awesome.
it's been great. Like, um, I wish I could pull up pages. Padrino is like killing it on the art. Um, but because I don't want to pull anything up without his permission, even though it's like technically my book, but he's my artist and I want to be respectful to him as possible. So if he doesn't feel like he's done with a page or whatever the case, I don't want to do that. It's very important to me, loyalty when you work with people, whether you're paying them or whatever the case, there's a a loyalty. I think that should be there. Um, but yeah, I'm hoping that I'll have a sign up done by the end of the year. But I'm not going to be running a sign up until the book is finished. And then I won't be opening my campaign until I probably have my book half colored.
Yeah, that's good. You want
That's
to
just how
make
I want
sure.
to do it.
No, it's a good way to do it. Like I'm all about, like I have tons of stuff that I could show, but like it's not ready yet. It
Yeah.
doesn't. It's not where I want it to be yet. So it can't get shared. As cool as it is, as much as I want to, just feel, hey, look at this. It's got to wait. I got to be sure that everything is right. And it's interesting when you said about working for Joe. I did a little kind of story for Passion for Drawing. He did
Oh,
Tales of Novatera.
I
It's
see. I
he got
missed
the
that.
books in. He
I
finally
missed
got
that
the
book.
books in, so he's gonna be shipping them out next couple of weeks. I'm super pumped because I haven't seen the finished product. But yeah, that's a book that and that's a story that really was probably the scariest thing I've done as a writer because I wanted to tell a really good story for Passion, who's a friend of mine and somebody
Mhm.
who's helped me launch Ace and a lot of stuff behind the scenes. He's always been there for me. So I wanted to tell a great story for him, but it was a genre that I'm not really that familiar with, So I
I
had to
feel
kind
you.
of get figure it out. But I think once I finally got the hook, and then and kind of wrote it out loud, he really dug it, which kind of gave me like a thing to like relax. Because if he likes it and Passion, anybody who knows Passion, he don't slack. If he don't like it, he'll tell you. And if he likes it, then it's really good. So being able to do that was definitely something that made me a better writer. It helped me on, like I said, Raid, kind of finishing up Raid because I already had the first part, but the second half was trickier.
Mhm.
And I think doing that story for Passion really kind of helped me expand as a writer. So it's always good to like do work for other people and kind of get branch out and do kind of tackle different genres or stuff that you're not that familiar with. Yeah,
I agree.
yeah,
If you wanna write, you have to push yourself, I feel like, and constantly challenge yourself. I could write fantasy, like, all day long. That would be, like, my number 1 cup of tea because most of the things that I was inspired by as far as, like, traditional books go are fantasy. I mean, I got a whole shelf of George R. R. Martin over here. I have my C.S. Lewis, I have my Tolkien, I have my Aragon books, I have my Harry Potters, I have so many crazy things, my R.A. Salvador stuff. There's so much fantasy that I love. Fantasy would be like the easiest for me to do, but also the hardest because I'm super passionate about it and I want my worlds to be perfect. And
John,
um,
what up?
but yeah, it's hey John, get the maps. I know I have plenty of ideas for maps. I know I have a whole map book for Game of Thrones and everything that will be here for an hour if I pull it out.
There you
But yeah, the book with Spencer, the one for Death Curse that I'm working on, that has been something completely different for me. Like I'm used to editing that type of stuff.
go. Hmm.
And it's not that I can't write it. I can write it. It's just I didn't think I would be writing that kind of stuff unless I was told to. If I was like told to in college, then I would have done that. So it's been interesting, but I've gotten great feedback. Spencer was like, "Holy shit, you fleshed the fuck out of everything. How did you even do this? This isn't even supposed to be this type of story, but it works." And Spencer is very much like that. If you've ever watched a Death Curse streams,
Yeah,
that's him to a T. He's kind of wild. Um, so to me, that was great to hear that. And now we're on to Reaper Destroyer here.
yeah. Christopher saying he can't wait for Reaper the Destroyer and the supplemental. So yeah, somebody is looking out, ready, excited for this story, which is anybody who's seen Reaper the Destroyer,
I
uh,
mean,
I mean, just super impressive artwork. I had the little ash can
Me
preview thing
too.
that he put out. So yeah, now we have the supplemental. You've already kind of touched on a little bit of anything else you kind of want to give. You can get it right there. It's one of the featured perk is $25. So.
Yeah, I mean, so how can I put it? So the supplemental is about um, Vanessa, and Vanessa is one of Joe's main villains in his Reaper Destroyer books. And she is very dangerous, and she is one of the most powerful beings of old. She is an elder son. So, an elder son are a race of immortals in Joe's universe, and they're very interesting. He was inspired by the gap creation theory. So they're inspired by like the pre-Adamites, and they're just extremely powerful and super cool. And Vanessa is pretty much she is just an evil character. She's evil and she is beautiful and she's very perverse, you can say. She is a seduction, like a seductress. She is pretty much like, how can I say it? So she's like the definition of evil. She has no redeemable qualities whatsoever. Her nature is pretty much sadistic and she's power hungry and she's like extremely masterful in the arts of seduction. And she has certain goals that she wants to obtain, and she will do what she needs to do to put her plans into action. She kind of seeks to dominate, I would say, everything because it feeds her power, and she wants to corrupt. Well, she does kind of corrupt everything all around her, and she causes nothing but pain and strife to everyone and pretty much uses everyone until there is nothing left and repeats kind of patterns. She's a
And
being
she's
who's
a
like,
blonde. I think I've met her before. Now
you
that you
might
keep
have,
describing him.
you might
Uh,
have, yeah.
I might be familiar with that one. Yeah.
Yeah, she's just like a very sexually charged, perverse being. And sex for her, it's just nothing more than pleasure and indulgence. Um, I don't want to spoil much about the story. Um, but the theme of the story is basically that physical beauty is a weapon, pretty much. So, and beauty is a weapon,
Oh
um,
yeah.
especially if you know what to do when you possess such beauty. And I wrote it like a cautionary fairy tale in an aspect, and it's written in a manner that's like staccato, meaning that there are kind of beats with it. It's kind of poetic in nature and it's very thought provoking. So I'm hoping everyone really enjoys it. I put a lot of my heart into it. I know Joe likes it, and that was like the most important thing for me was making sure that I'm producing. I was crazy. I literally was texting him like as soon as I got up in the morning. I would just be texting him, asking him so many different questions and sending him this, or I'm coming up with this idea on my phone and texting it to him. I annoyed that man nonstop. And to the point that I thought he was going to regret offering me to write. But I think what it is I was a fan of Joe's universe and the ash can that I got, and just it was an honor for me to be presented with that opportunity because I was such a fan, and the more I learned about it, and I backed this book and everything, you know? So it was never planned that I would be writing. Joe heard some of my crazy ideas and heard like me reading through like my passion project. So
There you
that's how
go.
I base the American dream. Yeah, I guess.
Oh, Rookie Critic, what up? Thanks for stopping by. Yeah,
I
man.
like
It's
their
good to see
avatar.
everybody in the chat. Please
Yeah.
remember to like, subscribe. Trying to get the subs up on this channel. Been doing this stream for a couple months now. Gonna keep having on cool people like Kayla and just talking
Oh, I'm
writing
cool.
process and different cool. Yeah, you are the coolest.
Oh shit! I'm cooler than a what is it? Polar bear's toenails? Is that what Flavor the girl said on Flavor Flav? I'm trying to
Yeah,
remember. Cooler than a polar bear's toenails, everybody. Oh shit.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So the link for Reaper Destroyer is in the chat. So you can go support it, check out the different tiers. It's got a lot of cool stuff, amazing artwork. It's gonna be a badass project, man. And like I said, I've read the preview. Super,
Oh, the
it was
ash
super
can.
cool. Yeah,
Woo!
the little ass can.
The
So yeah,
the ash can is how I ended up becoming friends with Joe. As soon as I received that, I messaged him. And I have my Death Curse interviews, which I'm taking a break from now to pump out my writing. I will go back to them. Um, but I messaged him. I wanted to get him on the show. I'm like, I need to interview you. I need to know more about this book. I was asking him 50 questions then. So it was just I think what it is with Joe is people are so focused on how gorgeous the artwork is, and we all know that he's like very artistically talented and artistically inclined, that they don't realize how great of a writer he is, and he is an amazing writer. So, and just a world builder, well, universe builder. He's not building a world, he's creating a universe. And just his character profiles, so it's going to be I would say that that book is gonna be, just that book and the supplemental, it's gonna be a book that's great to look at if you're a visual comic book reader, but it's not gonna be a book that it's just like a one-time thing. It's gonna expand, it has multiple dimensions and layers to it, and it's well written. So if you're a reader and the art sucks you in, you'll want to keep reading, in short, is what I'm getting at.
sure, yeah,
This was a story that was in it came out on a Wednesday,
it was.
and I loved that story. So I'm so happy to see that you are doing this. I need to figure out what's going on with my bank so I can get this. I know Pete messaged me and told me about a couple of things that I have to look into to try to do, but I don't want to miss this book.
No, like I
I
said,
would
we
be
should.
kicking myself.
Yeah, like I told you off air. Any kind of extra copies will probably be put up on the Etsy store. I did that with Bloodbone. After the campaign kind of ended, I put all the extra copies on the Etsy and did pretty good. A bunch of people ended up picking up copies of it. I think I only have like 9 copies left, so pretty much all sold out. So I'll
Bloodbone is
probably
a
do
fun book.
Bloodbone. Just that
That's a
cover.
fun. It's a
That
fun.
cover is one of my most favorite things that I've ever done. Just holding that foil cover in my hands. It was like one of the coolest things. It took me right back to like when Wizard was doing the little ash cans,
Yeah,
all these different books, introduce people to. You're just like, yeah, it's taking you back to that. So it's a
very
fun
90s. Like
completely. Oh yeah. Just wait to see what me and Joe Ball are cooking up for issue 1 of Bloodbone. It's gonna be madness.
I'm
It's
waiting to see some of your wrestling influences go into
oh,
that
gonna
book.
be so
Like,
heavy.
is that
Number
you're
1 is
like,
gonna be so heavy. People are just gonna be like, "Wow, this is crazy." But
I just want
you
to be a
get
sidekick. Can I be like a macho man style, like, in my Slim Jim jacket and that book kicking ass? Because
yeah. No, trust me, it's gonna be a lot of fun. Like I think
can I have a
it's
cameo?
hey, well, we'll see what we can do. Like I said, uh, we're still kind of putting the finishing touches on issue 1 script.
Yeah, Joe
But
Ball's
we might
great too.
give it and Joe's gonna go nuts on this, man. He's gonna just be unleashed 100%. So, and Joe's a big wrestling fan too. He's
Oh,
a fan of
really?
the over the top. Well, yeah, he loves. He's more like a Japanese wrestling. He's more into that. But yeah, like it's gonna be a fun book.
Oh,
But yeah,
time scale said everyone can be a macho man. I mean, I'd be a macho woman. I don't want the title of man, to be honest, and no one can be Randy Savage. I'm sorry. There was only one
only
Randy
one.
Savage, and no one I don't think has been able to embody that personality that he had. Turn it on like that. He was the cream of the crop. Like
Yes.
legit.
The voice, the mannerisms, his whole the outfits, all that kind of stuff, man. So it's only
Yeah,
one matcha.
I want the outfits.
Yeah. But yeah, guys, Raid of the White Leopard is funding on Fund My Comic. It's last day, I believe, for the 90-day campaign is July 28th. It will end on July 28th, and like I said, any extra copies will wind up on my Etsy store. But you'll want to grab all the goodies, and kind of we're working to the $3,000 stretch goal, which is going to be the awesome uh, poster by Boob Dan, which I'm super excited about. He actually did this piece for me a long time ago, and one of those things where I had to hold it until it was ready, but I was able to get it all colored up, and be able to kind of share with people finally, and hopefully we can make that a reality for all the backers. I think it's one of Dan's best pieces. Beautiful colors by Marcos Martins.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, we got some more cool stretch goals after that too. So hopefully we can continue to kind of get the campaign up. But yeah, I love the colors on that. Blue dance style, all that fun stuff.
I love that his whole style is just basically just making the chicks with the biggest boobs as possible. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Hey, Rick.
Rick Sailor, what up? Thanks for
Oh, and
stopping by.
Joe, you missed me talking about you.
Yeah,
You're late, boob.
there we go. That's all that needs to be said. It should be the screenshot of the stream right here. I'll just put this up. Uh, Here, guys. We also have a bunch of sketch cards available. Have one by Avery Butterworth. We have one by Passion for Drawing and one by Michael Beacon. You can get that in the book for $50. I think it's a pretty awesome little bundle that we're offering for everybody. And then obviously you can
Sold
get
out
the
in
book.
time.
You can get, yeah, we've been fortunate to get guys like Joe Ball, Sim, Shelby Robertson did cards. So
Yeah.
yeah, those are all sold out for everybody. And we also got the PDF for anybody who's interested. The link for the book is in the description. It's also in the chat. Just scroll to the top there. Let's see what Joe's saying here. Yeah,
Maybe I was talking badly about you.
yeah, you'll
I was
have to
saying
watch the
like the
replay to
worst
find
things
out.
possible.
Mhm.
No, I couldn't. He knows I think anyone that gets to know me, they know how important loyalty is to me. So if you're my friend, you're my friend. If we're cool, we're cool. So plus he knows I absolutely love the universe that he created and everything. So if anything, Joe, I just said I annoyed the shit out of you by contacting you constantly during the process of the Vanessa thing. But what else is new? I'm an interrupticus. So
There you go.
that's my nickname for Tuesdays. Yeah. Okay, I guess I didn't annoy him probably because I was talking about the project
Yeah.
and him. So
So you guys, we're gonna call it a wrap here. Just want to thank everybody in the chat today for stopping by, hanging out with us. It's very much appreciated. Kayla, thank you for hanging out and talking a little
anytime.
bit about your influences, and this supplemental looks really cool. So definitely go out and support that. And yeah, just let them know where they can find you, and you want to get to know more.
All right. You guys can find me on Twitter at Comics and Cleve. And then you guys can catch me on Tuesdays for Akba, Appreciating Comic Book Art Live with Joe and Sean on Joe and Sontag's YouTube channel. And other than that, I also run with my Death Curse crew, but we're kind of breaking. And I'll have some news coming up on Crimson and Alabaster. Um, when the time is ready. But it's almost done. So
There you
we'll have some news once all my pages are in. I'm basically a little bit behind on parts of my script. I lost a good portion of my script on Google Docs. So yeah.
That's tough.
So yeah, it's a little bit behind for Spencer to edit. But Padrino, jeez, Juanito is like crazy. It, like I've never seen someone work so fast and produce things so accurate in my life. But then again, that's why I wanted to work with him. So
You go. So about finding that right tag team partner,
yeah,
to do these awesome comics. You can find me also on Twitter. I'm at Edwin Aces. It's the best place to get any updates or anything having to do with any of the projects that I'm launching. Please, like I said, like, share, subscribe to the channel. Help us get the sub count a little higher. And you can catch me tomorrow night. I'll be on the Hardline Zaid Comics channel. You know how we get down every Monday night. The most consistent stream in all of comics. So thank you guys for hanging out with us. You guys have a good night, and we'll see you in 2 weeks for the Writer's Cut, episode 12. Peace.
peace out.